Shehan Jeyarajah, one of our favorites, CBS Sports, kind enough to join us. Shehan, how are you, man?
Hey, Shehan.
I'm doing well. Yeah, another tip for broadcasting, make sure that you know when the mic is still rolling. It sounds like our friends out in Philly might not have noticed.
Oh. Wait, I haven't heard the story on this.
I have not heard this either. I'm sorry. We've been running it. We're at the road home raising money here at the homeless shelter, and so we're kind of out of the loop. What's going down?
Just after this is over, after you guys are done broadcasting, look up Philadelphia Flyers broadcaster. It is something else.
Oh, no. Shehan, Scotty and I have been doing this for a better part of 20 years now, and each of us have had our little fun in the sun. And
with open mics,
But I got to tell you, I got to give a shout-out to my boss and my producer, but more importantly, my boss, who's back in the booth. He has never, not one time in 17 years on air together, almost 18, Shehan, Lloyd Cole has never made a mistake. So big shout out to my boss.
Yeah. I love it. It's the best.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it, though, for sure. Because we always say that we're going to mind our P's and Q's off the air, and we never do. We say some stuff, and I'm like, so help me if that mic is live. Well, anyway. Yeah. All right, so what bowl games really have you fired up? Like, what's your 2 or 3 bowl games you look at, non-playoff related, that you're like, you know what, I can get behind that one?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I mean, first of all, like this has definitely been a weird bowl season. Like, I feel like I'm like less aware than I've been in previous years. But you know, there's a couple that come to mind. I'm really excited for that TCU versus USC game, in the Alamo Bowl. You know, obviously TCU now will be without their quarterback, which obviously is a little unfortunate, but I still think that has the potential to be a really important game for both these programs. Obviously, Lincoln Riley going back up against another Big 12 team, opportunity, I believe, to get to 10 wins. That would, I think, be a pretty good moment for them. You know, I'm really interested to see how Houston handles themselves against LSU in the Texas Bowl as well. I promise I'm not just picking Texas teams, but you know, that one's going to, I think, be a big one. Oh, but actually, I will admit, I glanced at the schedule just to remind myself. The Pop-Tarts Bowl between BYU and Georgia Tech is going to be so much fun. These are 2 programs that I just love covering. 2 quarterbacks in Bear Bachmeier and Haynes King who are just fantastic to watch. And by the way, 2 coaches. So I am excited to see the content of the 2 of them together. That is going to be, I think, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got to say this about Shehan, Scotty, because I bumped into him around the food during the Big 12 championship game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if there's anybody out there that loves his job more than Shehan.
And by the way, I would imagine he was dressed to the nines, too.
Oh, yeah. All the duds look fantastic. But you love what you do, Shehan. You can just hear it in your voice. Is this a dream job for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. People ask me if this is a dream job. This is a job that's so cool. I couldn't have even dreamed like that it existed. You know, it's just getting to hang out, watch college football, talk with people nationally. I mean, like, how cool is it, right? I get to jump on the radio in Salt Lake City when I'm sitting here in Dallas and talk to good folks, man. It's a cool job. It's a cool opportunity, and I always say it's better than having a real job.
Yeah. The first time I ever talked to Shehan is when Matt Wells got hired at Texas Tech, and you were hosting a podcast and then also doing writing for it's the Football Institute.
Dave Campbell, Texas Football.
Dave Campbell, Texas Football, which is like the football Bible in Texas. And so I've known Shehan ever since. So it's been kind of fun to sit back and watch your growth in the industry as well, where you're going to these games and covering them. And, you know, we talk about this BYU Georgia Tech game, and there's a lot of BYU fans out there that were really hoping for college football playoff. That didn't happen. Then they were hoping, all right, well, let's play Notre Dame in a bowl game. Well, that didn't happen. And so Georgia Tech seems like, you know, it's Miss Congeniality Award, when in reality Georgia Tech could put it on you if you're not careful, and if you're not on your game, it could get ugly in a hurry.
No, absolutely. You know, the big thing, right, for BYU was I was definitely frustrated when Notre Dame dropped out, because I was really hoping that they'd get an opportunity against, like, a big brand, right, an opportunity to kind of prove themselves, that everybody would be watching. But if you want to talk about pure football games, like, this one is going to be one for the ages, right, because you've got 2 teams that are very physical, love to run the ball, have quarterbacks who are fearless, have coaching staffs who are fearless. Like, there's a reason that Georgia Tech was on the cusp of the ACC title game for most of the season. And you even look at the way that they handled Georgia, not just this year, but last year, going to, 8 overtimes, 9 overtimes. Like, this is a team that does not back down. And I think that actually they're going to find that about each other, right? Like, both these teams are going to throw some shots. They're going to throw some punches. And absolutely, I mean, if they don't come with their A game, this could be a long day.
Shehan, I'm thinking that JMU, Tulane, and Miami might end up changing the course of how we put together the 12-team playoffs. Do you see any of those three competing at all? I'm worried Miami might be the biggest blowout.
Really? I actually think that Miami's going to hang pretty well. I actually think that that could be a potentially really, really interesting game. Because the big thing about it is that, I mean, I think you could make the case that these are two of the top 3 or 4 trench teams in the playoff this year. Like, Miami's offensive line, I would make the case is probably the best trench team in the playoff. And then defensively, Ruben Bay and Akeem Mesidor. Then on the other side, you got Trey Zune at left tackle. You got Armaj Reed-Adams, Cassius Howell at pass rush. Like, these are 2 really, really good trench teams. And I think that if Miami's able to protect, which is no guarantee, like that, this is a really, really good Texas A&M defense. I mean, they have the playmakers outside to cause some issues for this Texas A&M defense. Texas A&M is a lot better in the front 7 than they are in the secondary, I would argue. And then, I mean, the other way, right, too. Like, if they can get to Marcel Reed and they can make mistakes, I think this game has a chance to be a really, really good one.
Ooh, I like it, Shehan. I like it, and I'm feeling like there's got to be like an itemized, like, first in line at the buffet next time we see each other. Put on this game. Okay, so I'm just looking it up. The line right now is Texas A&M -3. Will you give me the -3, and then when we get to the buffet line, you got to let me go first.
Sounds like a plan. Now, I will say I did pick Texas A&M to win and cover, but I'll at least grant you this privilege.
Okay, awesome.
Nice.
Because I would love it. I'd love to be like, oh, excuse me, Shehan. I'll be getting the dry turkey first.
Yes. Let me get that hot dog before you. Shehan, what's the best stadium or the best home stadium, not bowl game, but a home game you've been to? What's been the best one that served the best pregame meal?
Best pregame meal. So it was at Kyle Field, actually, which is probably the best. So I've primarily been around, sort of Texas, Oklahoma, most of those stadiums, right? And Kyle Field is definitely like the most fun environment also that I've covered. But
Agreed.
I covered. I believe it was actually the year of the 7 overtime Texas A&M LSU game, and that was a Black Friday game, and they actually had a full Thanksgiving spread, like turkey and pie and like everything. So I've never had anything that touches that.
Yeah, we were when Utah State played at Texas A&M this year. We were, we're looking around. We're like, oh, we're not in the Mountain West anymore. This is they're playing. They brought their A game on this one.
It's a different world.
Oh
man.
yeah.
Hey, Shehan, we were talking about teams that have got punked a little bit, and I think one of the worst matchups that we're seeing, and maybe one of the teams that got the most punked, would be the University of Utah at 10-2, getting a Nebraska team that I feel is completely disassembled and is going to really struggle in this game. Tell me what you thought about the 10-2 Utah Utes, and give me a thought on Nebraska, and try to pump me up so I feel like showing up to this game, because Scotty and I are thinking about making a road trip to Vegas for this one.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I think that getting to be there for the final game of the Kyle Whittingham era, like, that's a pretty special thing, regardless of what ultimately happens. I mean, if they win that game and he goes out with 11 wins, like that I think is a cool moment regardless. The other thing, too, though, is that I think that this Nebraska team is, like obviously they're down so many of their top players is the tough part, but they've got that freshman quarterback from California who's a little bit interesting. TJ Latif, I think is the kid's name. And, like, he's got a little something. I think that he could potentially be a sort of future face of this Nebraska program. And, of course, they're a defense-led program. I think that they're going to have a good game plan schemed up. I think that they're going to be ready for this matchup. But, if you had to ask me, yeah, I think that it probably is a Utah plus, 10-plus point victory.
So Kyle Whittingham stepping down at the University of Utah, but said yesterday that he, if somebody calls and he's interested and they make a good pitch, he's open. And if Michigan were to call, I'm sure he would take a long, hard look at that. So what's the market like for Kyle Whittingham, who's in his 60s but brings a tremendous resume to the table? If you're an AD, are you giving Kyle Whittingham a call?
So I think that this probably ends up being a Michigan or bust situation. And the reason that I say that is, one, it's the only power conference job open at this point. I don't think that he would take sort of a, I guess you could call it a second-tier opportunity. Two, I think that his skill set, obviously, as a culture builder, as a program builder, is so strong. But, if you are a program in a normal situation, let's call it, I don't know that you want to try and guarantee yourself, hey, is Kyle Whittingham still going to want to do this in 3, 4, 5 years, right? Like, I think that is a complicated situation. Now, if you're Michigan and you're trying to just get through a period of time and you want somebody to stabilize and elevate and get you back into national contention, I think that this is something that can make a lot of sense. But, if I was let's just say, for example, that Jed Fish leaves Washington to become the head coach over there at Michigan, and that job's open. I think it's worth having a conversation with Kyle Whittingham to see, can you establish some of what Utah's had over there. But I also, would also want to evaluate other candidates that are obviously less qualified to see, look, is this somebody who I think will still be the face of our program in 5 years? Because I don't know that Kyle Whittingham would be.
Shehan, how deep is the trouble there in Michigan? Because I've heard that some of the delay in hiring and interest and noise is there may be a few more firings in the front office. So how bad are things there at Michigan?
Well, they've publicly said that Ward Manuel, their athletic director, is going to make the hire. And I think that that's a big first step because certainly there's been a lot swirling around him throughout this whole process. But I think that the other thing, too, is there are active investigations going on in this athletic department from independent reviews, and we'll see if there's more criminal wrongdoing as well. And if you are a good coach in a good situation, I don't know that you want to step into this, right? I don't know that you want to leave a good situation to step into what should still be a really good job. And I think that honestly, Michigan in this moment where money is kind of everything, this is a good job, but do you want to be the guy who has to deal with this? I think that that's, for example, to go back to it, why the Whittingham thing makes some sense, because it's you don't have to compete with his situation because obviously he doesn't have one right now, and also this could be a short-term thing to get you through a difficult time in your program. So it's tough. I think that, again, there was the Kalen DeBoer smoke at Alabama. We've heard in the past that Kalen DeBoer really does love the Michigan job, but he's also got one of the great jobs in college football. Obviously the Jed Fish thing we've talked about, but the list of coaches that make obvious sense is kind of short, honestly, in this moment.
It is. I think about this too, Shehan. I can bring Kyle Whittingham in, and he's already shown that he can groom a head coach and that he surrounds himself with great personnel because he was obviously handing the throne now to Morgan Scalley, who he essentially raised. Not only that, I think that his body, his mind is in great health. I also think he's probably got a bit of a chip on his shoulder that he wants to show I can do what I did anywhere. I just think for Michigan, and to throw in the fact there's no buyout. How many times in your life as a hire are where you're bringing in a prominent name that has got to be in the top 15, top 20 all-time college coaching conversation, to be able to bring him in without a buyout? I just think it's a no-brainer, Shehan. I'm hopeful that Michigan will take a good look at him.
Yeah, no, I think that it's mixed, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there who are I don't want to see him in another shirt. I don't want to see him leading the University of Michigan. But I think that also for him, there has to be that piece of, well, what would it be like to have elite level resource, right? To have a blue blood program behind you. Utah is obviously a program that, from 2000 to today, is one of the fastest rising programs in the history of college football, right? Like to see, going from sort of a middle tier Mountain West program to where Urban Meyer took them, to where Kyle Whittingham took them, to then the Pac-12, then to the Big 12. Like, it's pretty unbelievable. But Michigan is one of those programs that was doing this thing in 1917, right? Like, this is one of those programs that is the winningest program in the history of this sport and has unlimited money available. Like, I don't know. I mean, if I was Kyle Whittingham, I'd be pretty intrigued by the possibility of at least getting to try this as a coda to my career.
So up until about 17 years ago, or up until about last 3 years ago, I've been doing this for about 20 years. And so for 17 years, the running joke was that BYU was sitting on a treasure trove of money, but never did anything with it. And that they ran things so cheap and that they were all about being as frugal as they possibly could. And now that NIL's upon us and they can spend, they're spending like crazy. So how much does it resonate across the world of college football when Penn State comes from a coach and BYU says, no, yeah, we're going to keep him and we're going to pay him what he's worth and what market value is, and we're going to give him what he needs. And he says, no, I'm going to stay at BYU. Everything I can get here financially at Penn State, I can do at BYU.
Well, this one is so fascinating, right? For so many reasons. And, obviously people out there, would sort of know the culture of it. But it's like, for a long time, like you said, I mean, Kalani Sitake was one of the lower paid coaches in this conference, despite all the success that he's had. And I think that there are a lot of moments where an athletic department needs sort of a kick in the rear to say, if you want to be serious about this, this is your moment to prove it. And I think that hiring Kevin Young as a basketball coach was one of those moments. And then retaining Kalani Sitake was kind of that final moment for the football program. Because, again, my colleague Richard Johnson over at CBS, he reported that the entire roster this year only cost $10 million, which is a crazy low amount of money. Now, I've heard some disputing of that, but, point is this was not a very expensive roster to be going 11 wins and playing for a Big 12 title. And so I think that this has kind of been like a long-term growth, right, of look, we understand what football has done for BYU. We understand the stages that it's gotten us to, and we understand how important it is that Kalani Sitake has been at the front of that. So I think that this is kind of that moment now where it's like, okay, this is actually happening. We're actually committing to this.
Shehan, hope you have a great holidays. Look forward to catching up with you again here very soon.
Yeah, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks as always for having me.
Thanks, Shehan.
You got it. Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.